The radical left's agendas are attacking your American values. But conservatives like you haven't forgotten what this country was built on. My friends, the Heritage Foundation exists to make sure your voice is heard and to represent your values in the swamp and quagmire of D.C. The Heritage Foundation stands for your values and will not give up the fight because they know you never will. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. It helps if I turn my microphone on. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Well, I'm going to have to take another little swim in the cesspool. Unfortunately, all of us will a little bit here. I think I've addressed this repeatedly, but I need to underscore it. President of the United States put out a True Social post today, and I could not agree with him more. As you know, it's been my steadfast position that we have a lot of con men who are trying to exploit this Epstein matter. And in doing so, they're getting hits and clicks and subscriptions and eyes on the so-called new media platforms, the cesspool that is the internet, the cesspool that is social media, not completely, but by and large. And this is where they live. This is where they live, and this is where they make their money. And it doesn't take much, this cabal, this niche. It doesn't take much to have a very lucrative living if you can fool enough suckers. That's the truth. Now, the president put the following out. The radical left Democrats have hit pay dirt again, just like with the fake and fully discredited Steele dossier. The lying 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, which the Dems swore had come from Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom. And even the Russia scam itself, a totally fake and made-up story used in order to hide crooked Hillary Clinton's big loss in 2016, the presidential election. These scams and hoaxes are all the Democrats are good at. It's all they have. They're not good at governing, not good at policy. They're no good at picking winning candidates. Also, unlike Republicans, they stick together like glue. Like glue. Their new scam is what we'll forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And my past supporters, and he has capital in past, my past supporters have bought into this bull crap. Hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years. I have had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in our country's history. And all these people want to talk about, with strong prodding by the fake news and the success-starved Democrats, is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success, because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Make America great again. I get exactly what he's talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, they keep calling themselves influencers. Cable TV calls them influencers. Who are they influencing? These are mostly con men and con women. Let's go back before this Epstein situation. They lied and conned about Iran and Israel. I should know. It was 1 against 1,000. Maybe a handful against 1,000. Me and a handful of others and you against these con men and con women who said it would be World War III, who said China and Russia would get involved, who said it would be a massive conflagration in the Middle East, that said that we would lose tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 soldiers. They lied, fear-mongered, scaremongered. I can't tell you how many months it was said to me, how are we going to fight these people? By people who refuse to fight them. Well, I decided to fight them, particularly when I became the target of them. They lie. They deceive. They are not conservatives. They are not constitutionalists. They're not make America great again. They're constantly ripping at our society, ripping at our culture, ripping at our country, ripping at our past military victories, including World War II. I've explained this over the past 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, right, Mr. Producer? They're con men and they're con women. Most of them are disgruntled former employees of some other corporation. Some of them have been criminals. Some of them have had more personalities than Sybil. Some of them have hired hookers and perverts. And I go down the list. Very few of them are outstanding. Very few of them are people of real accomplishment. Very few of them are people you'd want your children to be near, I can tell you that. Not all of them, but too many of them. And they latched on to Donald Trump. They didn't help him get elected. Donald Trump was going to get elected, period. They grabbed onto his coattails in order to promote themselves, in order to grift. And then they claim that you and me and the 77 million people who voted for Donald Trump, really, we wouldn't have voted for Donald Trump but for all of these grifters and con men and con women. It's a lie. You know it and I know it. But the left-wing media and their entrails like Mediaite and Drudge Report, they are orgasmic over the pedophile Epstein, orgasmic over Epstein, because they view this as a way to try and damage this administration. In the long run, even the mid-run, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Because you're now going to have a binary decision to make, as they say, a binary decision. Either you stand with the president or you don't. Either you stand with the president or the Epstein orgasmic obsessed con men and con women. Look at each one of these people. Dig into their backgrounds, each and every one of them. What kind of frauds and phonies they are. They don't care about the Epstein files. They want their hits. They want money. Dershowitz has come out and said there is no list. There's no list. Whether somebody said there was a list or wasn't a list, there's no list. But it doesn't matter, right? Then we get the line that Epstein was part of intelligence. And when you actually hunt that down, and I've posted twice, they point to Acosta, the former U.S. attorney who cut the lousy deal with this guy. But there's no first-hand statement by Acosta in that regard. And notice, none of these grifters, none of these con men and women even try to contact Acosta. Or if they did, they can't get an answer. And the fact is, Acosta never said it. It's an article in the Daily Beast, the Daily Bestiality, a left-wing crap site, by a reporter who said he spoke to somebody. Who spoke to somebody who spoke to The claim is Acosta, who said, yeah, he's part of Intel. That is not Acosta saying anything. I'm not here to defend Acosta, and Epstein got exactly what he deserved. There's no evidence anybody killed him. As they wrote over at National Review, that would be mission impossible with the cameras and everything else there. So there's no evidence somebody killed him. There's no evidence of a list. There's no evidence of intel agencies or Mossad or the Israelis. And you're being played for chumps in order to undermine the president by two elements. The people who hate him, the Democrats and the media, and these con men and con women, many of whom have stabbed the president in the back before. I've explained this over the past 6-8 weeks. What they said about the president in text, what they've said about the president behind his back. They've clung on to Trump because they want the hits, they want the clicks, they want the eyes. And now they're turning on him. And they're using this. First they tried Iran and Israel. Now they're using this. There's a piece in the Free Press by Rebecca Heinrichs called The Right's 1939 Project. It's a great piece. What she has in her piece, I've pretty much been saying over the course of the last 2 months. And there have been a couple of us standing up to this. Unfortunately, she doesn't mention that in her piece, or the Free Press doesn't mention it either. But you here in this massive audience, you know that I've stared these people down. You know that if we hadn't stared these people down, they may have succeeded in pushing an agenda. Which would have wound up with Iran having nuclear weapons and 20,000 ballistic missiles. Because these people are not pro-American. They ingratiate themselves with dictators, with monarchs. They keep trashing our country. As I say over and over and over again, they claim to be America first when they're America last, which is sort of what Rebecca Heinrichs says in her piece in the Free Press. That's correct. Those who said we should have gotten out of NATO, like Senator Mike Lee, among others, I've called them out. Crazy. That's crazy. They claim that we're the imperialists. We're the colonialists. America, are you an imperialist? Are you a colonialist? When they trash our country, they're trashing you. That's what they're doing. Whether it's the Marxist Islamists or whether it's these conmen isolationists. They put out comedians out there who are anti-Semites to make their case. They put out phony historians who attacks Churchill and says it's Churchill's fault that Hitler wouldn't stop. How sick is this? And they pass around these phony experts from one podcast to another, one platform to another. They interview each other. They promote each other. It's incestuous. It's a cabal. And then they're platformed. And so this guy, Dave Smith, who's a complete lowlife, he's in a debate with our dear friend Josh Hammer. Should have never happened. Should have been platformed. Well, don't we have a right to ask questions? You don't bring anti-Semites on the stage, do you? Do you bring Klansmen on the stage to have a debate about race? Do you? No, you don't. Not if you're serious. Not if you have principles. This is the time when men and women of principles, values, belief systems, who believe in this country, who believe in the United States military, who believe in American law enforcement, who believe that our veterans are heroes, who believe that the men and women who have fought for this country in the past, God bless their souls, did so because of a righteous cause. They even question World War II. This mix of Marxist Islamists and the isolationist conmen is very dangerous for this country. Even Donald Trump isn't good enough for them. Even Donald Trump is not good enough for them. They're making money off of him. It's too lucrative for them to give up. They want to drag us into the sewer, which is where they operate. With the racism and the bigotry and the anti-Semitism, with the anti-Americanism, with the footsie, with the Marxists and the Islamists. Where they stand with Iran against Israel. Where they stand with Hamas against Israel. Where they stand with Putin and Russia against Ukraine. Where they sound like economic socialists. That's not you. That's not you. That's not me. If President Trump isn't good enough for them, who the hell is? Who the hell is? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, the American flag is under attack. We saw it mocked and burned in L.A. during protests. And when people attack the American flag, aren't they attacking everything it stands for? The sacrifice of our troops, the values of our founding, the promise of liberty and justice for all. Thankfully, patriots like you haven't forgotten what the flag stands for. You're the reason the Heritage Foundation created Flags of Our Fathers, the meaning and history of the U.S. flag. This is a resource for patriots like you to remind and refresh ourselves of the American flag's history and deep importance to our nation. Claim your free copy today at heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. If we lose the meaning of our flag, we risk losing our nation. That's why it's imperative that patriots just like you take advantage of the Heritage Foundation's new resource, Flags of Our Fathers. Let's do our part in this fight by going to heritage.org/Levin right now. Heritage.org/LEVIN, paid for by the Heritage Foundation. What kind of movement is it that roots against America? What kind of movement is it that blames America for World War II? What kind of movement is it? What kind of movement is it that is focused so heavily on conspiracies by the most disreputable people you can possibly think of? Why do you follow people and you don't? The you know, the generic you. Why would you? Let me put it that way. Why would you follow somebody who paid for God knows how many prostitutes, lied about it, and now pretends to be a moral leader? Why would you follow somebody? Why would you follow somebody who used the first Trump debate to try and sink him? Why would you follow somebody who pled guilty to a felony and has 15 hours of Epstein videotapes that he won't release? I can go on and on about these people. Think about them. They have nothing in common with you. Nothing. But they're all getting filthy rich lying to you, selling you conspiracies. Why would you follow people who take the side of a regime that tried to assassinate our president, talks about blowing us off the face of the earth, and wanted a nuclear weapon? Why would we side with him? I'll be right back. Folks, we've seen in our streets over the past several months the burning of the American flag. Even worse, we saw the Mexican flag and the Palestinian flag waved defiantly during LA's violent riots. There's something seriously wrong with that picture. The American flag is under attack across the country, and with it the American promise of liberty. But while the left attacks our flag and everything else we hold dear, bold conservatives like you across the country refuse to let the flag fall. That's why the Heritage Foundation created Flags of Our Fathers, a critical resource for patriots who want to remind ourselves of the American flag's history. Flags of Our Fathers contains the untold history of the flag's creation and the meaning of the stars and stripes. Let's take a stand for the American flag today by going to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin, and claiming your free copy of Flags of Our Fathers. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
The Mark Levin Show, live and national at 877-381-3811.
It's time to take a stand. It's time to realize that some of these people who you thought were reliable are trying to exploit you. You haven't changed. They've either changed or we just never knew who they really were. That's the truth. Now we have these leftists who are coalescing around their radical candidates, coalescing around these anti-American policies. This is a big problem. And the President of the United States is trying to get things done. And if these con men and con women, these fake MAGA, who are grifters, they can cost us the midterm elections. Them. Not Trump, not you and me. Them. Doesn't take many. Doesn't take many votes. President of the United States is pushing in every direction on our behalf. Incredibly successful. Incredibly successful. I'm sick and tired of these con men and these egomaniacs. I'm sick and tired of these selfish bastards who are enriching themselves. I'm sick and tired of these punks and these pukes that I have nothing in common with, who are immoral and amoral. I'm sick and tired of these people exploiting people in my audience and other audiences. Like this is the end-all and be-all of all issues. This doesn't put food on the table, doesn't secure the border, doesn't protect our cops, whether it was mishandled or not. But some people have put a position out there that has been false from day one, apparently. You've got people who are well aware, like the former Prime Minister of Israel, Bennett, no friend of Netanyahu's, who said Mossad had nothing to do with this guy, Epstein, period. He said, I should know, I was in charge. And they have no evidence, but they keep pushing it. What about Epstein involved with the CIA? I haven't heard Radcliffe come forward and say that he was. Apparently he wasn't. They say, what about Ehud Barak, a former prime minister who spent a lot of time with Epstein? What about him? He's a pig. He's a pig. I don't know what he did or didn't do. He's been trying to take out Netanyahu for 7 years, but what does that have to do with the Mossad or anything else? Nothing. These are Jew haters. That's what they are. And if you're a Jew hater, you're a Christian hater. And if you're a Christian hater and a Jew hater, you're an American hater. It's that simple. It's that simple. The nation was founded on our principles, on our belief systems, yours and mine. Nobody else's. Now, these people are very disgruntled. They had former jobs with big networks and so forth. They got canned. They got canned. Some of them got caught with hookers, with fraud. Some of them got caught saying one thing to you that they thought you wanted to hear and saying another thing to the radical left-wing media, trashing President Trump while claiming to support him. You got one of these pigs who actually made money off of some of you people, claiming he was setting up a charity for a wall. Pled guilty. Did you get any money back? Is that somebody to listen to? No. Nobody's perfect. Certainly not me, but I'm not one of them, I can tell you that. You might be imperfect, we all are. But we're talking about criminality. We're talking about sleaziness. We're talking about con men and con women. But President Trump's not good enough for them. No. Who do they like? Who do they support? Who's the next person they're going to try and hang on to? Who is it? It's nobody. These guys peddle bull crap. Let me put it that way. They're angry. They call themselves influencers, but they're not influencing anybody. They failed to influence the President of the United States to allow Iran to arm up with nuclear weapons. 94% of MAGA Republicans support what the president did. These 6% did not. They didn't support it. But they're called influencers. Why? Because cable networks, newspapers, the entrails with their websites, they want them to be influenced. They want them to be the face of MAGA. They're not the face of MAGA. Not with those faces. No way. They're not. They never will be. Make America great again is not make Iran great again. Make Russia great again. So just like the Marxists and the Islamists, just like the media, they take one issue and they try to exploit it for their own power, for their own notoriety. Who are these people? They're nothing. They're nobodies. What have they done for your country? What have they done? Nothing. Nothing. It's not that Donald Trump is out of step with MAGA. It's that these phonies are not MAGA. They stole the name. They jumped in front of the parade. Donald Trump was going to get elected president of the United States by a landslide with or without these reprobates. That's the truth. He brought in more black voters, more Hispanic voters, more women voters, more Jewish voters. Do you think any of them know who any of these people are? See, if your head's screwed on right and you're a broadcaster, even if you're the most popular broadcaster on Fox, at maximum, you've got 3 or 4 million viewers. 4 million or higher is massive. And usually it's because of some horrific tragedy or some special or what have you. Talk radio is much bigger. So what's my point? My point is that they don't reach all the people they want you to believe they reach. Look at this site, Mediaite. This crap site started by Dan Abrams. It's Epstein day in and day out. They don't care about Epstein. They could care less. But they hate you. And they try and exploit you. This guy Isaac Shore writes for the New York Post, one of my favorite newspapers. He writes for them. Used to write at National Review. Claims to be a conservative columnist of sorts. Writes a column today about how terrible this is, but, you know, he's been promoting it. He's part of it. Everybody who's touched Mediaite will have stench on their hands for the rest of their careers. Because that outfit is out to destroy Trump. It's out to break up MAGA. And so what does it do? It doesn't have to do a lot. Its writers aren't particularly smart. They just regurgitate what all these con men and con women are saying. That's what they're doing. Now, the fact that I have to spend another 45 minutes on this crap, the fact that I've had to discuss it over the course of the last several weeks, is shameful. Shameful. But I'll do what I have to do. Because if Trump isn't good enough for them, You understand what I'm saying, right? Nobody's ever going to be good enough for them. And let's look at their policies, shall we? Unilateral disarmament. Appeasement. Turn Europe over to Russia. Turn the Far East over to China. Turn the Middle East over to Iran. Oh, that would all work out just great, wouldn't it? What, are we still using muskets? And they choke off navigable waters. They choke off our economic channels of distribution and commerce. They hoard rare earth minerals that we need. Oh, that would work out great. Who are these people? Have they done anything profound in their lives? Nothing. Zero. Nothing. They're court jesters. That's what they are. They're the Star Wars bar scene with platforms. And how do they get these platforms? Oh, they're independent journalists, don't you know? They're not independent. They have multimillionaires who create these platforms for them. There's nothing independent about them. You know, Cumulus Westwood One and I are in partnership to syndicate this show. They're public companies. Whatever you want to know about them, they're public. You want to go to their meetings? They're public. Everything's public. Everything's transparent. There's nobody hiding anything. I talk about them openly when I disagree. And they're very tolerant. They allow it. So who funds all these other people, huh? Who funds them? They're not public corporations for the most part. They don't have to tell you anything, do they? Do they? But I know this. The only way they get paid is if they stir the pot as much as possible, counterclockwise. And so if it means turning on Trump, they turn on Trump. Again, we're mature adults. In this country, we have great debates. If we have a disagreement with the president, we explain our disagreement and why we have a disagreement. I've done it on occasion, but you do it respectfully, you do it civilly, and your purpose isn't to destroy the president, to stab him in the back, to say one thing to his face and then lie about him. That is unconscionable. That is immoral. Disagreement's okay, but sabotage is not. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, the American flag is under attack. We saw it mocked and burned in L.A. during protests. And when people attack the American flag, aren't they attacking everything it stands for? The sacrifice of our troops, the values of our founding, the promise of liberty and justice for all. Thankfully, patriots like you haven't forgotten what the flag stands for. You're the reason the Heritage Foundation created Flags of Our Fathers, the meaning and history of the U.S. flag. This is a resource for patriots like you to remind and refresh ourselves of the American flag's history and deep importance to our nation. Claim your free copy today at heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. If we lose the meaning of our flag, we risk losing our nation. That's why it's imperative that patriots just like you take advantage of the Heritage Foundation's new resource, Flags of Our Fathers. Let's do our part in this fight by going to heritage.org/Levin right now. Heritage.org/LEVIN, paid for by the Heritage Foundation. All right. Oh, they'll be round and round and round after this. The media's enjoying it too much. And the conmen and con women are making too much money off this. Why don't you ask them where they get their money from? Turn your cynicism, you, again, the general you, not each of you, towards them. Ask yourself. Go on the internet and look up their backgrounds, each and every one of them. Ask them how they're ask yourselves, how are they making their money? Who's funding their platforms? What is their agenda? Are these people I really want to follow? Are these people who I really want to enrich? Seriously. Ask yourselves this question. Most of these people have transitioned from one type of personality to another, to a third, to a fourth. They don't share your love of country. They don't share your principles. Their principles are negotiable to the highest bidder. They don't work through issues logically and rationally. Use their reasoning abilities like you do, like we do. They spin conspiracies. They're full of hate and vile. As I said, many of them are bigots and anti-Semites. Some of them would be great representatives at the UN. Not for our country, but for some of these third world countries, wouldn't they, Mr. Producer? They'd fit right in. And people who give them platforms? Really? Give them platforms? Because they have a legitimate point and there should be a debate over their poisonous bigotry? Because, quote unquote, it's out there and questions are being raised. We need to address this. We need to condemn it. You need to condemn it. And you don't condemn it out of one side of your mouth and platform it out of the other side of your mouth. But the real test here, America, is this. If Donald Trump isn't good enough for these people, then who is? And the answer is nobody. And who are these people for whom Donald Trump isn't good enough, who think they could continue to exploit you, who look down on you, who view you as a money trail? I really want to encourage you to be thinking about this now. To be thinking about this, to be speaking out. If you need to go on the internet, social media, if you need to go into the sewer from time to time, then get in there, deal with it, and get the hell out. These people only benefit if enough of us, Mr. and Mrs. America, if enough of us continue to watch them, continue to listen to them. Because that's how they make their money. Without you, they get nothing. Well, we do have a lot to jump into, and we will jump. But it's not like the first hour is a waste of time. It's important. It's important to get our moorings right. Ignore the Lilliputians. Ignore the con men and the con women. Ignore the grifters. Ignore these people. Get behind the president. We've got a hell of a lot to do or we're going to lose our country. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Listen to this. Because you and I, we do care about things like this. We do care about things like this. I just lost the damn thing. Stick with me, America. Hold on here. We're live and national. This is from Israel News Pulse. The entire staff at a hospital in Suwayda, Syria, was slaughtered slaughtered by Islamist terrorists. They say, I will not post the videos in respect for the dead and their families. And there's a photo of the staff, beautiful people. Druze are Arabs. They're a minority sect within the Arab community. The only country that's coming to their defense now is Israel and the IDF. Like they haven't fought enough wars. Israel and the IDF has gone into Syria to defend the Druze who are being slaughtered by terrorist groups with the backing of the Syrian military. Have you heard this today from anybody, or are we just not going to care? Are we so cold now that none of this matters to anybody? You won't hear this on the networks. You won't hear this almost anywhere because, you know, the narrative is that the Israelis are slaughtering babies in Gaza. A flat-out lie, too. You actually have now thousands of Druze who live in Israel side by side with Jews, side by side with Christians, side by side with other Arabs and Muslims, who are pouring into Syria to fight and defend their brothers and sisters. The Israelis, you know, the Jews, the Israelis have gone into Syria again, have attacked brutally the terrorist organizations and, yes, even the Syrian military to push them back, which I believe so far they've succeeded in doing to some extent, and to encourage the Israeli citizens who are Druze to return to Israel so they don't get slaughtered too by the Syrians. This is a hellish part of the world. Hellish. Hellish. I'm sure this won't be reported properly by the New York Slimes or the Washington Compost or the Constipated News Network or MSLSD. I hope and I suspect that the news entities at Fox will at least mention it. But you won't hear it from conservative talk radio these days because that's not what we talk about, is it? No, I guess not. Now, this guy, Zohran Mamdani, he's getting full support from an increasing number of Democrats. This man has refused to object to the terrorist slogan that promotes terrorism, Global Intifada. He's an anti-Semite. He's a racist who wants to tax white neighborhoods more than other neighborhoods. He's a Marxist pig who wants to seize by force your property, including homes. And Democrat after Democrat, they met him at D.C. They really liked him. He's a good guy. Good guy. He's a nice guy. Here's a montage. Cut one. Fox News, go.
Yeah, I'm like, how is he? Fantastic. Zohran Mamdani is an incredible talent. He is going to be a great mayor for New York City.
Did he talk about the globalized intifada? Did he clarify those comments? Did anyone ask him about that?
No.
It's just beautiful to have someone who is so authentic. You know, that money cannot buy that. And we had a great conversation.
I think he's a very personable, smart young man. And I hope we're not going to have a lot of circular firing squads.
Mm-hmm. This guy is effectively another Klansman without the robe. But that's okay, right? Right, Democrats? His ideology is that of Lenin and Mao and Stalin and Castro. But that's okay, right, Democrats? That's okay. No big deal there. Andre Carson, after meeting with Mamdani in D.C. this morning, he likes to remind us time and again that he's Muslim. Cut two, go.
Speak
to people who might still be on the fence here, especially on the globalize the Intifada phrase, because that, really did not go over well with some folks out there. What does he need to do besides? I mean,
stupid. It didn't really go over well with some folks out there. Go ahead.
The phrase?
Well, I think he'll speak to it. I mean, some people mean it literally. Some people have repurposed the phrase. They mean it symbolically, and I think he can speak to it better than I can.
It's amazing to me. Now, if some horrific thing was said about gays or blacks or Asians or Hispanics, do you think people will be talking about repurposing language, Mr. Producer? Oh, repurposing language? What kind of claptrap is that? Repurposing language? Repurpose the phrase. The Democrat Party is making clear where it stands, America. And as I've pointed out week after week, those who claim to be Republicans and sound like those in the Democrat Party, well, we have to make sure their poison doesn't spread anywhere near us. AOC on Capitol Hill today, another Marxist Islamist, a.k.a. Stalinist. Cut 3, go.
Get to know him. Get to know him. This is not about having any kind of hard line. I think that if anybody is skeptical,
God,
I would say...
stupid? Is she stupider than stupid? Another one who lied about her background. This guy, Mamdani, claimed to be Asian and black in order to try and get admitted into certain schools. AOC claimed to be raised in the Bronx when she was raised in Yorktown in Westchester County. Right, Mr. Producer? What was her name? Sandy? Sandy, is that what? Sandy Cortez? Well, what? That's it. Sandy Cortez. That's it. For now on. Sandy, if I can remember, Cortez. Sandy Cortez. Get to know him. Get to know him. He's actually a nice guy. Not voting for a nice guy. What kind of a nice guy? David Duke a nice guy? I wouldn't know. I don't want anything to do with him. Nor would I platform him in a debate in front of a group either, by the way. Oh, yes, he's a nice guy. You got to get to know him. Go ahead.
Know him. And once you get into a room with him, kick the tires yourself and make your own assessment.
Shut up, you moron. Kick the tires. She talks in slogans. She's a sloganeer. That's all she is. Scratch the surface, and what do you have? You have a certifiable moron. She's the leader of the party, and this is who Schumer's worried about, because he's a moron. And I don't know how much Democrats have to learn about other Democrats. It's really shocking, isn't it, the Democrat Party, what it is? Here's the problem, though. You've had open immigration for years now. People have become citizens here. They have not assimilated into this country like this guy, Mamdani. He's not assimilated into American culture. He hates American culture. We have these other guys who we want to deport. They're not assimilating into American culture. They're at war with American culture. Then you have the isolationist con men and con women. They're at war with American culture and American history and so forth and so on. This is why I explain the political spectrum is more a circle or horseshoe, as I've explained over the decades. That is, at the upper left side that comes toward the center, you have the Marxists and the Islamists and so forth. Comes down around, and then at the upper right side, you have the fascists, the thugs, the isolationists, those type, bigots. And they overlap. They have a common hate for the country. They express it in a different way, although less so these days. And then when you go to the bottom of this oval or this horseshoe, the bottom in the center, that's us, constitutional conservatives. We're not right-wing. Since when is supporting the Constitution right-wing? Since when is individual liberty and private property rights right-wing? That's the nomenclature they seek to put on us. We're not right-wing. We're constitutional conservatives. That's what we are. That's what we are. Man, oh man, Shevet. And from my perspective, And I've told you this. If our friend Curtis, if the mayor, Cuomo don't get together and get behind one of them, they really ought to get behind Curtis. But whatever it is, this guy's going to win. This guy's going to win. And he won't win because he gets a majority of the vote. He'll win with a plurality of the vote. That's all I'll need. One vote more than the next guy. And he's the mayor. For 4 years. Look at what DeCamio did to the city. And for those of you who don't live in New York, and you say, oh, thankfully I have nothing to do with New York, don't be so sure. This is spreading. This is spreading throughout the country. It's spreading in our Congress. These elements are more and more motivated, more and more aggressive. They're out of the closet. We've never seen a Congress like this. We've never seen a Democrat Party like this, quite frankly. Never. Never. This is why I say, let's get behind President Trump. Why are we listening to these conmen and conwomen who don't represent us? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
If you're with one of the big three wireless carriers, you're really overpaying for your service, period. You're paying for thousands of retail stores you never go into. You're paying for unnecessary perks you never use. You're paying a massive premium for what you think is superior 5G service. Guess what? Pure Talk uses the same 5G network on the same 5G towers. The only difference, they don't charge you for any of the garbage. Instead, Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, plenty of data for just $25 a month. Folks, that's less than half the price of the big guys during a time when saving a buck really matters. I am a Pure Talk customer. I have been for years. I made the switch. It's easy. You can even keep your phone and your number. So do this. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. And you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. You can switch over to Pure Talk in as little as 10 minutes. That's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin. To switch to Pure Talk, wireless by Americans, for Americans. It's amazing, you know, the media and their Democrats, one and the same, they pound away on this deportation issue, and then they take a poll. See, this is the way it works. Trump's poll ratings on immigration are the lowest ever. Lowest ever, ladies and gentlemen. Well, listen to this. Here's Eric Swalwell, who, as we all know, is a pig. Maybe he'll be an influencer one of these days, Mr. Producer. Cut 5, go.
And these ICE agents running around our communities like masked bank robbers, terrorizing women, they're going to get themselves hurt, and I hope that doesn't happen. And we're already seeing women are being targeted by people who are impersonating ICE agents.
Oh, this guy's such a lowlife. Did he speak out for women when he, his party, his president allowed willy-nilly, God knows, hundreds of thousands of women to be sold into sex slavery? Did he say a word? Does anybody know if Swalwell said anything? Anybody? Probably was hitting on some of them. Fang, 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 whatever the hell it was. Incredible. Children, they didn't care. Women, they didn't care. By the way, it wasn't just women being raped. Men were being raped. Children were being raped. Media didn't give a damn. Now they can't give enough, you know. Then we have somebody, State Representative Anna Ishakamani in Florida. Look, with all due respect, these are names I am unfamiliar with that I can't even pronounce anymore. Cut 7, go.
And I want to just affirm this point about how the overwhelming majority of those being detained have no criminal background, because it doesn't...
Okay. So does the immigration law say only deport those who have criminal backgrounds. And please don't call and say, well, the fact that they came here illegally is a crime. We know that. I'm not talking about that right now. We're talking about other crimes. Do our immigration laws say that the only people who get deported are people who commit other crimes? Is that what it says? No, that's not what it says. You're here illegally. You're to be removed. And so what the Democrat Party is doing, what is it doing? It's trying to create its own law by destroying compliance and law enforcement. So that there's no such thing as deportation. She talks about criminals. What about this guy Garcia, who was in Maryland? You know, the Maryland man. How difficult was to get him out of here? He's still here. The fact is the Democrat Party is on the side of the illegal foreigner who's committed crimes against American citizens. That should piss off everybody. And this clown, she understands that, well, there's an awful lot of people who didn't commit crimes, or they committed small crimes like traffic violations who are being deported. What are you, an illiterate buffoon? Is that what the immigration laws say? Everybody's allowed to come to the United States as long as they don't commit a secondary crime? Is that okay? Is that what the law says? You idiot. These people are said to be lawmakers. Lawmakers? They're felon makers. Go ahead.
At this Everglades detention center, it actually starts, to your point, when folks get pulled over for small traffic violations.
They get pulled over for small traffic violations, and then they find out that they're illegal aliens. And they remove them, or they seek to remove them. That's the way it's supposed to work. So according to these people, you don't go into a Home Depot, you don't go to a 7-Eleven, you don't go into a restaurant, you don't go into a church, you don't go into a school, you don't go into their community. That's all racist, of course. And whatever you do, you don't pull them over for a traffic violation. So in other words, you don't deport anybody. And then they want them to have children, birthright citizenship. They become citizens, and of course they vote Democrat. And they don't want them to assimilate into our culture, into our society. And what do you get? You get Mamdani. That's what you get. You get Omar. You get Talib. That's what you get. People who hate the country. As opposed to a civil immigration system that's legal, that's legitimate. People get in line. People are vetted. You know who's who. You know what's what. That's not good enough. The mob of aliens who came here illegally must be free to stay in the country, to procreate, to vote Democrat. You know damn well, if most of these people were expected to vote Republican, they'd build a wall that's 50 feet high and 20 feet wide. You know damn well they would. I'll be right back. If you're with one of the big three wireless carriers, you're really overpaying for your service, period. You're paying for thousands of retail stores you never go into. You're paying for unnecessary perks you never use. You're paying a massive premium for what you think is superior 5G service. Guess what? Pure Talk uses the same 5G network on the same 5G towers. The only difference, they don't charge you for any of the garbage. Instead, Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, plenty of data for just $25 a month. Folks, that's less than half the price of the big guys during a time when saving a buck really matters. I am a Pure Talk customer. I have been for years. I made the switch. It's easy. You can even keep your phone and your number. So do this. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. And you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. You can switch over to Pure Talk in as little as 10 minutes. That's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin. To switch to Pure Talk, wireless by Americans, for Americans.
The cost of freedom is high, but this phone call is not. Call Mark Levin toll-free at 877-381-3811.
Man, oh Manischewitz. I know it's only Wednesday, but we have a great lineup for you this weekend on Life, Liberty, and Levin. We've got Elise Stefanik Saturday night and Dan Hoffman, this great former CIA Moscow chief. I mean, if they'd known who he was, he'd be disappeared, as they say. Two great guests. Sunday, General Keane and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. So, two great shows, four great guests. You'll have two fantastic monologues. Hello, me. Notice I said monologues, Mr. Producer. They're going to be, yeah, how dare me, exactly. You're going to love the shows. I hope you'll set your DVR. One other thing that's important, of course. My new book, On Power, will be out in 13 days. The clock is counting. That's a very, very short time away. And I will be launching the book with an interview with Sean Hannity on his program. I will be doing a full 1 hour special on my own show. And we have wonderful lineups with Fox and Friends Sunday, Fox and Friends on Monday. We have just wonderful, wonderful line. I can't even remember all the programs, Mr. Producer. So we're going to be on hopefully all, but most of our affiliate stations, some of our syndicated friends. This is a very, very important issue, this issue of power. And in fact, I just did a program for Blaze that I believe airs, let me think out loud, tomorrow night on Pluto. And it'll be in front of the subscription wall if you want to take a look at it, where I discuss this at length as well. But I wanted to point out we have our fantastic book signings, the Reagan Library you're aware of. They're still making book signings available there if you're interested. The seats are all sold out, but still you can show up for the book signings there. So you can go to the Reagan Library website for that. But we have two other book signings, a total of 3. That's it. August 2nd, Saturday, Books and Greetings, located in Northvale Square, Northvale, New Jersey, starting at 1 p.m., Saturday, August 2nd. And the owner there, the store, they're very excited. We're very excited. It's a new format for us. It was just a better situation. And so we decided that we would go with Books and Greetings rather than bookends. So you're going to enjoy this, I think, very, very much. There's a lot of access to parking and so forth. And then the next Saturday, August 9th at 10 a.m., again, a new location, Barnes & Noble, the Spectrum at Reston Town Center in Reston, Virginia. We have never used that Barnes & Noble. It's a brand new Barnes & Noble, and I checked it out myself. Family and I checked it out. It's a beautiful location, plenty of parking. Again, that'll be August 9th, Reston Town Center, the Spectrum, Reston, Virginia, Barnes & Noble. And Barnes & Noble has been great. Costco's been great. Walmart's been great. I shouldn't have started this, Mr. Producer. Everybody's been great. Amazon's been... I'm serious. There's no games being played whatsoever. And the benefit of pre-ordering your copy of On Power is a upfront discount. And I encourage you to grab it as fast as you can at Amazon.com. Pre-order sales are picking up nicely. People are interested in this. And I hope you will be too. Just check it out. Very easy. Okay. What do I owe you, Rich? Do I owe you a sponsor? We're good? Okay. What did I want to do here? I'm sick of Swalwell. We're done with him. All this stuff on immigration was all a plan from day one. Open borders, and then no deportations. Now, elections have consequences. That's what these con artists, these isolationists, these frauds, these phonies, these freaks, and they are freaks, who are stabbing President Trump in the back after hanging onto his coattails in order to grift. That's what they're all about. We've got to fight to save this country. Can you imagine if Donald Trump wasn't president and Kamala Harris was? What do you think would be going on then? They'd probably put ICE out of business. Biden almost did put ICE out of business. And this big, beautiful bill, ICE, the size of ICE was tripled. Did you know that? Detention centers were tripled. This was a crucially important bill. Crucially important bill. Very important. And that bill did things, big bill, that would never have been done if Donald Trump wasn't president. Even if there was another Republican who was president, I doubt it would have gotten done. I doubt it would have gotten done. And so we back the President of the United States. We're not going to allow shiny objects to distract us. Look, I know what the media are trying to do. I know what these con artists are trying to do. I know what they're all trying to do. But I also know you, and I've known you for decades. And I know you better than any of they do. Many of these are Johnny-come-latelys or Susie-come-latelys. Fire and brimstone. They're always disappointed in the president. They're always disappointed in you. They're always disappointed, and they do nothing. And they've never done anything. They've never done a damn thing. Comedians and this and that. Who cares? Phony economists who's a phony historian. They want transparency. We'll ask them for transparency. Find out who's paying them. That's transparency, isn't it, Mr. Producer? Find out who's backing them. Why not? Yes, we want transparency. And most of them don't. Most of them have very perverse or worse types of backgrounds. As I said, one with hookers, another one, a criminal, confessed criminal. You can go through the whole list of them. Disgruntled former employees who can't hold a job, and now they found a way to have their own platform and grift. That's not what the new media is supposed to be about. The new media is supposed to be, well, what we do here. Dig into the substance, dig into the issues, identify what we can do or what we hope we can do. That's the goal. And you're more than up to it. These people only survive if you allow them to survive. These people only survive if you watch them. Hits and clicks if you pay for their subscriptions. That is the only way they survive. By the way, you want to hear the next one? I always tell you folks. It's a New York Times reporter, Ken Vogel, as I recall. Never much liked the guy, but nonetheless. He's got a big hot story he wants to report on. My interview with Netanyahu, but not quite my interview at the very end, as I recall, where he and I are joking around about the Hall of Fame for our high school, Cheltenham Township High School, outside of Philadelphia. He and his brother, who was a great hero, who was murdered by the terrorists in Entebbe, you may remember that movie. Those of you who haven't seen it, you might want to watch it. And the Prime Minister himself, in combat, was shot in the shoulder. But he went to that high school for a couple of years while his father was working in Philadelphia. His father was a scholar, as did his brother. He's 7 years my senior. I went to that high school, though I skipped 12th in order to go to college. I was elected to the school board in Cheltenham Township. At the age of 19, I was sworn in when I was 20. And I joke around with him whenever we see each other or talk to each other about how I'm not in the Cheltenham Township High School Hall of Fame. Many others are, you know. Now, I do it tongue-in-cheek. How many people here expect a school board or bureaucrats in a school system to vote to put me in their Hall of Fame? Like zero? And, of course, the township's gotten even much more liberal since I was there. It was fairly evenly split, but not anymore. Now, I had assumed that Netanyahu had already been voted into the Hall of Fame, but according to this reporter's questions, apparently not. Why do you think he hasn't been voted into the Hall of Fame, he asks. Why do you think you haven't been? And do you think the people who have been voted in deserve it? Have any of them, his word, are any of them schmucks, he's asked me, Mr. Producer? Is that his way of trying to identify with me? I don't know, and I don't care. It was tongue-in-cheek. It was a running joke that he and I have. But this was a big story in the New York Times, you know. We'll see. He's writing a story. No, I'm not going to waste my time talking to the guy about it. Why should I? Why should I? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
If you're with one of the big three wireless carriers, you're really overpaying for your service, period. You're paying for thousands of retail stores you never go into. You're paying for unnecessary perks you never use. You're paying a massive premium for what you think is superior 5G service. Guess what? Pure Talk uses the same 5G network on the same 5G towers. The only difference, they don't charge you for any of the garbage. Instead, Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, plenty of data for just $25 a month. Folks, that's less than half the price of the big guys during a time when saving a buck really matters. I am a Pure Talk customer. I have been for years. I made the switch. It's easy. You can even keep your phone and your number. So do this. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. And you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. You can switch over to Pure Talk in as little as 10 minutes. That's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin. To switch to Pure Talk, wireless by Americans, for Americans. Can't believe 2 hours are almost over here. Moves fast around here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to try and post two things. One is a photo of the, it's very sad. A picture, I'm pulling it up now, of, I believe, the 19 of the women who were at this Israeli outpost that was overrun by the terrorists on October 7th. It's a photo that was taken on October 6th. And they're happy young girls, and they're smiling. 17 were murdered. Of the 19, Mr. Producer, one was taken hostage. One was taken hostage and released. And I will do my best to post this because it is, it's compelling as hell. For those of us who actually care about humanity. And you in this audience, you do. There's a lot more things going on in this country right now. Some of them are good. Under Donald Trump. Over at National Review Online, James Lynch, new endowment tax set to cost billions for wealthiest universities. Now, you and I have talked about these endowments, right? We talked about these endowments. And that how they're tax-free and they shouldn't be. A new tax on large university endowments, passed as part of the Republican Big Beautiful Bill, is set to cost billions of dollars for the wealthiest U.S. universities. Good. Analysis from the right-leaning American Enterprise Institute found that over the next 5 years, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, and MIT will be on the hook for more than $1 billion apiece. Harvard will have to pay $2 billion, the most of any university, between 2026 and 2030. Keep in mind they have a $53 billion endowment. Yale will be taxed to $1.5 billion, Princeton $1.2 billion, Stanford $1.1 billion, MIT $1 billion. Several other prestigious universities, including University of Notre Dame, University of Pennsylvania, Northwestern, will have to pay hundreds of millions of endowment taxes over the coming years. See that? The rich are paying. Isn't everybody happy? The endowment tax falls at 8% for schools that have endowments greater than $2 million in assets per student, and it goes down the list. Now, AI's analysis estimates the university's taxable income based on publicly available tax forms and so forth. Oh, we're taxing the rich. Is that okay? No, you're not allowed to tax the universities, you see. That's a no-no. Imagine all the research that'll... Oh, shut up. We know who these people are. We know what they think. Pay your fair share. Get skin in the game. Isn't that what they always say? Yes, I think it is. Get skin in the game. Say people who don't have skin in the game. The Senate advances the president's request to rescind $9 billion in spending on foreign aid and the public media. The public media. We don't need PBS or NPR. We've got enough radio stations. We've got enough TV stations. We've got enough different types of formats and platforms. If any of those programs on NPR or PBS are worth salvaging, they will be commercial successes. A decade or so ago, Mr. Producer, many of you will remember, we were talking about eliminating PBS, and I said, I'll pull together a team of people, of investors, and we will buy Sesame Street, which is hugely profitable. Hugely profitable, and that's what will happen. It was a 51-50 vote. Vance was the tie vote breaker. And, of course, $9 billion is nothing in a $37 trillion debt cycle. But then again, we've talked about how to resolve that with Convention of States, because Washington will never fix it. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Hour 3, our final hour. Our number is 877-381-3811. We'll be taking calls at the bottom of the hour. 877-381-3811. Remember this Judge Boozman, a.k.a. Boasberg? Terrible judge. So many of them are in D.C. Left-wing appointee. Henrik Knudsen writing at Breitbart, one of the great sites, Breitbart. A newly surfaced memo reveals that D.C. judges, namely federal Judge James Boasberg and others he claims are his colleagues, hold an inherent bias against President Donald Trump, as many Americans have surmised. The Federalist obtained the memo stemming from the March 11, 2025 Judicial Conference in Washington. According to U.S. courts, the Judicial Conference convenes twice a year to consider administrative and policy issues affecting the federal court system and to make recommendations to Congress concerning legislation involving the judicial branch. Now, during this past conference, Federal Judge James Boasberg reportedly told Chief Justice Roberts, the presiding officer of the Judicial Conference, that both he and his colleagues were, quote, concerned the administration would disregard rulings of federal courts leading to a constitutional crisis, unquote. You know, what's interesting is this guy's Boasberg gave the finger to the Supreme Court and retained jurisdiction on a case he's supposed to let loose, but he wouldn't do it. As such, Roberts, per the memo, expressed hope that would not happen, and in turn, no constitutional crisis would materialize. Always the limp spine. He also told the others that he had civil and respectful interactions with Trump as of late. But as the Federalist points out, Donald Trump, however, is not merely the president. He is a defendant in scores of lawsuits, including multiple cases in the D.C. District Court, which is where this Boasberg lives. They say, as such, this conversation did not concern generic concerns of the judiciary, but specific discussions about a litigant currently before the same judges who expressed concern to the chief judge of the D.C. District Court that the Trump administration would disregard the court's orders. Judge Boasberg's comments reveal he and his colleagues hold an anti-Trump bias for the Trump administration. You know what? This gets me. You know what? This is going to take me in another direction. You know what, ladies? As I read this in Breitbart, citing the Federalist, ladies and gentlemen, it is time that we Trump-supporting conservatives who have these different platforms, whether it's Breitbart, whether it's the Federalist, whether it's Right Scoop, whether it's The Blaze, whatever it is, wherever it is, that we start speaking out, that we aggressively reject this effort to exploit the Epstein issue, with people grifting off of it, drawing attention to themselves, working with the left-wing media and their entrails, that we openly speak out in defense of the President of the United States. You don't just do that in good times. You do it in times like this, too. And these are good times. But the point is, We need to stand up against this cabal. We need to reject this cabal. And maybe tomorrow I'll list all of them, or I'll at least name several of them. We've got to take them on. Can't just be me or a handful of us. So all the conservatives in the conservative movement, all the constitutionalists in the constitutionalist movement, we constitutional conservatives, of which there are tens of millions, with legal groups, with think tanks, with websites, with other platforms, with our own podcasters and so forth and so on. It's time for us to speak out. Not just me, not just a handful of us. It doesn't take a lot of courage to speak out, but it's time that we do. That we defend Make America Great Again. That we defend the accomplishments this president has made and is going to make. It is time that we speak out loudly. It is time that we not platform these con men and these con women who are looking for attention, who will not follow the facts. And we don't need to follow them. We don't need to follow them. I'm quite serious, America. If I have to do it myself, I'll do it myself. If there's a handful of us, there's a handful of us. There's too much at stake in this country right now. I think I heard Joe Rogan, he was upset that people were being rounded up who weren't necessarily criminals. I don't listen to it. I think I read that somewhere. Is that your view, America? That only criminals should be deported? Is that your view? And I never endorsed Bernie Sanders for president either. Did you, Mr. Producer? No. A lot of these people have popularity having nothing to do with what they say on podcasts. I'm a huge UFC fan. Huge. I've been following the UFC since before there was a UFC, MMA. I remember when they used to set up basically cages in the desert outside of Las Vegas, and these guys would fight. There were really no rules. There were no weight classes, anything like that. So they brought order to this and turned it into a fantastic sport, a sport that I love. And Dana White loves Donald Trump. And Joe Rogan seems like a very nice man. I don't know him. But his popularity comes from the fact that he is a UFC color commentator, and he is great at it. Not because he's particularly smart about anything, not because he's particularly profound about anything, not because he has a following from a political or philosophical or historical perspective. People got to know him through the UFC. He had a lot of different careers and lives early on. By the way, I'm not attacking the guy. I'm just explaining things. When you bring a guy like Dave Smith on and these other people on, you diminish yourself. You demean yourself. And if I were giving him advice, I'd say stop. I don't care if you have 20 million listeners or 120 million listeners. You're still flesh and blood. You're still flesh and blood. But there are others who are more hostile. More hostile. I'm just pointing something out. I think we in the conservative movement, those who have worked so hard to develop their communication apparatus, those who have worked so hard to create independent journalism, those who have worked so hard to create think tanks they come up with fantastic ideas that the president and others can use, those of us who've worked so hard to create legal groups that have challenged the left, that have fought the left, in other words, have done something for this country, who could have made a whole lot more money than be lawyers for a legal group, or scholars for a think tank developing arguments on different issues that can be used against the left. These people who have worked and worked and worked to take us where we are today, to bring us where we are today, they truly have done things for the country. And they're still doing things for the country. Landmark Legal Foundation. America First Legal. Judicial Watch, and many, many others. The Heritage Foundation, and many, many others. Hillsdale College, many, many others. People have spent their lives building these institutions. They're not the establishment. They've been fighting the establishment before anybody else was fighting the establishment. It's time that we speak out. It's time that we use our platforms. It's time that we use our noggins to push back against the con men and the con women. They're not MAGA. They're MAGettes. There's a difference. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, Ambassador Huckabee at Israel, this guy's unbelievable. He's fantastic. And I'm proud that my stepson works for him at the appointment of Donald Trump, which I've mentioned to you multiple times before. We're all proud of him, and we're proud of Ambassador Huckabee. So the ambassador, he went to the trial, the Stalinist show trial that they're putting Netanyahu through. And he went to the trial in show of support, and he echoed President Trump's sentiments. The way the Jerusalem Post wrote this, and the Jerusalem Post has become more and more liberal over time, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee arrived at the courthouse in a show of support to the Prime Minister for what he said was a familiar witch hunt process that Trump experienced as well. Can you imagine if the Democrats held these? I mean, the criminal trial hearing of Prime Minister Netanyahu on Wednesday was attended by U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee. The president understands what Netanyahu is going through, Huckabee told the press. It is something he relates to personally. Last month, President Trump called for Netanyahu to be pardoned in the trial that has been going since 2020, America. When Prime Minister pleaded not guilty to all charges, they're accusing him of taking cigars and champagne, Rich. They're accusing him of bribery. And what was the bribery? Apparently, some guy with a news website wanted favorable treatment. And in exchange for favorable treatment, the allegation is, would give Netanyahu favorable press. That's a crime, number one, and number two, both denied it. That case fell completely apart. This is how ridiculous this is. President Trump said Bibi Netanyahu's trial should be canceled immediately or a pardon given to a great hero who's done so much for the state of Israel. How is it possible that the Prime Minister of Israel can be forced to sit in a courtroom all day over nothing? Cigars. Oh, Bugs Bunny. A gift that was given to one of his kids, I think his eldest daughter, 20 years ago, Mr. Producer, a Bugs Bunny doll. You believe that, America? Huckabee tweeted today, I stopped by the trial of Netanyahu in Tel Aviv today. My conclusion, Trump is right again. So they bring him in for these trials while he's trying to run the country. The country. Let's see here. It goes on. That's about it. It goes on and on. But I just thought you would want to know that because it's very interesting. It's also very important. The Israel judicial system is about 3 steps towards tyranny beyond ours. We're right behind it. But there you can actually have a sitting prime minister who has to go on these cases while he's fighting wars to save his country. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. And it's a left-wing cabal. A left-wing cabal. The Supreme Court appoints many of its own members. I mean, this is preposterous. They don't have a constitution, so the Supreme Court decides what is or is not constitutional in effect. It can take up any case it wants, whether there's a case or controversy, whether they're standing or not. It can take up any case it wants. So it's basically a Soviet-style Politburo. It's nothing akin to any kind of judiciary in the West or any kind of judiciary ever contemplated by people who developed judiciaries in the West. It is a tyranny. It's the tyranny of the judiciary. We have that too. Very interesting piece in Red State. Trump and Governor Abbott. Let me move these commercials out of the way. Sorry. And run around Democrat 2026 hopes, and a total freakout ensues. This is important. Republican prospects for keeping the House of Representatives in 2026. You know, this is what we need to be focused on in addition to the substantive policy issues. This. Not Epstein and not all the kooks who keep talking about it. They've been hanging on by a thread, the Republicans, but President Trump and Governor Abbott are getting ready to execute an end run around that. In a move that left Democrats stunned and fuming. It's always good when they're stunned and fuming. I guess the question is, when aren't they stunned and fuming? Abbott has called a special session so that the Republican-controlled legislature can redraw the Texas congressional lines. That came after the Trump-led DOJ found that several districts in the states were likely illegally gerrymandered. The projection is that Republicans could pick up as many as 5 seats, most of which will be in the Rio Grande area. Let's see. The margins in the House are razor-thin, and with the Republican recently losing the Wisconsin Supreme Court, it remains likely that Democrats will find a way to nuke the state's currently Republican-leaning map. That's in Wisconsin. So what do you do when the left fights with fire? You fight fire with fire. And Texas currently has 38 total congressional seats, only 25 held by the GOP, despite the Republican legislative supermajority in the state. In other words, there's room to maneuver, and the only way to beat Democrats is at their own game. 100%. The news of the special session sent national Democrats into a panic. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries called an emergency meeting and urged his party members in Texas to take extraordinary actions to prevent the redistricting from happening. The report was that during the Democrat call on Monday evening, which lasted for more than 2 hours, the Democrat leader in the U.S. House, Jeffries, the chairman of the Democrat National Committee, Ken Martin, spoke with about 40 Democrats in the Texas House. And Mr. Jeffries called the coming special session an all-hands-on-deck moment that would require extraordinary actions to block Trump and the Texas Republicans, according to a person familiar with his remarks. Now, as of now, the plan seems to be a walkout to deny a voting quorum. If that sounds familiar, it's because Texas Democrats did the same thing in 2021. You remember that? Trying to block a very mundane elections reform bill. They ran to Washington. They sang songs in front of the Capitol. Ultimately, they failed. There's no reason to believe they'd be successful this time. If anything, it seems like Texas Republicans are ready to be even more cutthroat. That could include arresting the members for abandoning their duties, which is allowed under the state constitution. I love this. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton made clear that he's ready to do what's necessary. They could also levy fines each day that would add up quickly to tens of thousands of dollars per Democrat member. Also, some speculation that Abbott could declare their seats vacant if they run away and deny a quorum, given they're required by law to appear. How doable? I'm not sure, but again, it seems all options are on the table. Overall, this redistricting attempt is excellent news, because Democrats have been filing lawsuits and trying to chip away at the Republican majority leading into 2026. If they're going to do that, then the GOP needs to leave no stone unturned in the states that they control. If that means mid-decade redistricting, then by God, do it. How many of the self-anointed narcissistic influencers have even mentioned this to you, America? And yet this is crucially important. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin, the research arm of conservative media. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
All right, I'm here. Live and national. Let's see here. I'm going to go to our callers. By the way, have you ever listened to the Liberty and Learning podcast that I do in partnership with Hillsdale College. So we did a partnership, Westwood One and Hillsdale College, with Dr. Larry Arnn, the president, brilliant man of Hillsdale College. I, of course, and Mark Levin, the host of the Mark Levin radio show. So Westwood One and Hillsdale College, our networks have come together. We've done this joint podcast. We've done 10 of them. And you can check them out, but you might want to check out the last one. It's really quite fascinating. Now, how do you get there? Well, where you go to listen to my podcast is where you'll find that podcast as well. And you'll see what I mean when I tell you that Dr. Larry Arnn is one brilliant son of a gun. He really is. So what do? Well, you search Mark Levin Show on your favorite podcast platform. And there's a lot there, including Liberty and Learning, our podcast, our joint podcast. Or you just search Mark Levin Show on YouTube, and it's there as well. So wherever you find my podcast or my information, you will also find Liberty and Learning, the joint podcast with Dr. Larry Arnn, president of Hillsdale College, and Mark Levin, president of the Mark Levin Show. Very, very edifying. And I mostly ask the questions, and I'll let Dr. Arnn speak, because it's a rare opportunity and an important one, too. So check that out. We're filled with information here. We're filled with thought and substance and so forth, as well as entertainment. And yes, we have to go every now and then into the sewer and deal with the sewer rats. They know who they are. We know who they are, too. As promised, I shall jump into the gene pool, and we shall get some callers in here. Let's go to Steve, Brooklyn, New York, the great WABC. Steve, how are you, sir?
Thank you. I am very fine. Thanks, Hashem. I have so many things to tell you. By the way, I love your show. Number one.
That's a good one. Thank you.
Is the Bible says about 90 places that the Lord gave this land to Israel, to descendants of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Number two, the Bible says in the beginning that all the nations in the world are blessed by the Jews, by the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Take a look. We have USA 250 years, Israel 777 years, and we have more building, more progress, more development in everything than nations. We have 4,000 years background. They've done nothing.
One more point, then I got to go.
Okay, one more point. According to the law, everyone who helps crime is a partner of crime. If defunding the police is helping crime. So I think it's aiding and abetting crime, defunding police, that considered a crime. It's Mr.
All right. Steve, good call. Thank you, sir. Ryan, San Diego, California, on the Mark Levin app. Go.
Mark, I want to thank you for all you do. I always do when I call you, but thank God we have you. And I want to thank you for battling for us. I just wanted to mention that this gutter snipe in New York, they need to just expose him for everything he's done, and believe, just like they do with the left does of the right. They tear us apart and they make up stuff. They don't have to make up stuff about this guy. Just go after him.
Great point.
Keep repeating it so that the American people But here's the problem, Mark. People don't know they don't know their history. They don't know that the Moors invaded Europe in 700. They invaded us. We didn't invade them. They don't even know the basic forms of history. So. That's what people have to get educated on, history and really what went on and what's going on in the country. But thank you for all you do, and I thank God every day we have you on the planet.
You're very, very kind. Thank you, Ryan. George, going right down the list here. Farmington, New Mexico. How are you?
Very good, sir. It's an honor to speak to you today.
Thank you.
Love what you're talking about today. And I wanted to say that these isolationists are living in a dream world. The previous caller mentioned people not knowing about history. How many people, I wonder, know that the Allies, or Europe, the nations that would have become allies later, they could have won World War II in 1936, and because that's when Hitler began military buildup in the Rhineland, which borders France, in blatant and direct violation of the Treaty of Versailles. And everybody just sat and did nothing while he built up this massive military for 3 years. The Blitzkrieg didn't happen for 3.5 years after he starts violating Versailles, and the whole spirit of isolationism kept everybody sitting on their thumbs until he was able to unleash an attack, a war that killed 70 million people.
Yeah, I know, it's stunning.
Hammered him when he just started. You could have think of how many lives you could have saved.
You're right. Great call, George. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. So what do you think of these fake MAGA types? What do you think about them now turning on the president, stabbing him in the back? Did we lose George?
Absolutely ridiculous.
There you are.
No, I'm here. Can you got me?
Now I can hear you, yeah.
Hello?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it's ridiculous. And, I think you mentioned earlier that, the Democrats, they have all these disparate, foolishness, but they get together and they stick together in their destructive agenda. They support each other, whereas the Republicans, it's like they'll fracture on the slightest,
But here's the difference. These people that we're talking about and you're talking about, I'm talking about, they're not even like the Marxists and the Islamists in the sense that the Marxists and Islamists are serious about what they believe. These con men, they're not. I think they push this agenda, except for the anti-Semites among them, but they push these agendas. They know they're irrational. They know they're unworkable, but they push it anyway because they are inflating their bank accounts, because they are grifters, because they are media whores, and they love to see their names in these headlines. I don't like it. I don't care, but they love it, and they need it in order to sustain this business model that they've created, don't you think?
Exactly, and that is beneath contempt. You could at least have respect for somebody who has an ideology that they sincerely believe in. You can at least respect, even if it's sincerely, even satanically misguided, at least you can have respect for that. Someone who's just a grifter, just trying to make money off the backs of whatever political turmoil they can get, that is just beneath contempt, and it is the lowest form of idiocy. And
all right, George. Call again, buddy. Great call. Let's go to Kyle, Marquette, Michigan, on the Mark Levin app. Kyle, how are you?
Right on, right on. Thank you for taking my call, Mark.
You got it, buddy.
All right, yeah, so okay, 2 quick points / questions.
Yeah.
My work at a school, obviously 12 months, but during the summer I work like a complete 180 schedule from what I do the other 9 months when school's in session. So I've not been really listening to you that much since like June 11th when school got out. But been listening again the last couple of days. So, I mean, yeah, obviously know about, I'm pretty on top of the news. Rush Limbaugh was a huge influence on me. I'm 36, but I started listening to Rush at the age of 22. So I'm a news junkie.
Right.
But, yeah, talking to your call screener when he was asking me what I wanted to ask you
We got
about.
1 minute. Go.
Okay, you got it. Yeah, this Omar Fateh that's running for mayor in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Did not know about him up until like 5:30 this morning, right before I had to go to work. Do you know anything about him?
Yeah, we talked about him yesterday at some length.
Okay.
Yeah, he's another one, like this Mamdani. Recent immigrant, or his family is. He's Somalian. He's talking about the Somalians need to unite. He said he shares the viewpoints of Mamdani. This is a growing movement. We've done it to ourselves. I should say the Democrats have done it to us with the open borders and the importation of people who do not want to assimilate but rather destroy our society. President Trump is trying to deport people who are trying to destroy our society. He's coming up against every imaginable obstacle, and this is why I get furious when he's trying to fight to save this country, and he's doing a hell of a job. And we have these con men and these con women who are seizing on these different issues to try and undermine them and stab them in the back while they claim they're MAGA. They're not MAGA, they're MAGettes. All right, Kyle, I got to roll, baby. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Some of these con men isolationists and con women have actually lauded this Mamdani, this Marxist Islamist would-be mayor of our largest city. At least he's connecting with young people. Is this sick or what? Now, we've talked about him, you know. He took money from a clerk linked to the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, called the Boston Marathon bomber a victim, staffed his office with anti-cops and pro-jihad interns. He believes police shouldn't respond to domestic violence. The list goes on and on and on with this piece of crap. With this jerk. I mean, so shouldn't this be part of our focus? Shouldn't this be our main focus, Mr. Producer? I think so. All right, let us continue. A lot of people want to get in on this. Chris, Portland, Oregon, XM Satellite. How are you, sir?
Hello, yes, sir. Mark Levin. First and foremost, I'm really excited about your new book on power. I can't wait for that.
Thank you.
I love reading your books. That'll be the fourth book.
Really?
It's just absolutely fascinating, and I will agree with our President Trump that you explain things better than anybody. The way you reason things really helps me understand what's going on, so I barely have to have any questions because I just turn on the radio, listen to you, and boom. You know, you're always answering my questions, so it's just phenomenal how you reason these things.
Well, aren't you nice?
Yeah. I just, I'm glad, you know, I have your books and, you know.
I'll tell you what, Mr. Producer, take down this gentleman's name and address, would you? Chris, thank you. That was very kind of you. Don't hang up. Don't hang up. Let's go to Joel, Naples, Florida, XM Satellite. Joel, go right ahead, please.
Hi, Mark. It's an honor to hear you and speak to you. And
thank you,
I
Joel.
agree with the last caller on what he said about how you explain and how you talk about the world and America. And you're one of the heroes I have. I just wanted to ask you this. So we know Israel and America, you know, the United States has taken out a lot of Iran's capabilities, but what do you think what's brewing in that country? Because they're kind of somewhat silent, but
you mean Iran?
I'm sure Israel's yes.
I think the ideology is alive. I think that they're going to be back for more. This is why Netanyahu says we must have the ability to go back in. It's not because they're warmongers or I'm warmongers. It's because their ideology is the warmonger ideology. It's an ideology. It's a blood cult. And they believe in conquering everybody and anybody and doing so in the most vicious, horrific, subhuman way possible. So I believe unless the people overthrow that government, Israel's going to have to keep a very close eye on it. Come one administration after another. That's what I believe.
Do you think they're going to take out the Houthis too?
Well, I don't think they're going to take out the Houthis per se. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that would work, quite frankly, but it's something they have to keep an eye on. You know, the Saudis hate the Houthis because really the Houthis' main target is Saudi Arabia. Joel, I'm sorry. I got to run, buddy. Thank you so much. I want to salute all you heroes out there. I want to thank each and every one of you for being there. I'll see you tomorrow.